Welcome to the Page One Podcast, a podcast featuring a variety of guests and thought leaders on topics ranging from digital marketing, sales channel strategies, influencer marketing, best-in-class product launches, and all the details about how to accelerate sales. Now, here's your host, Luke Peters.
Thanks for joining us on the Page One Podcast. I'm your host, Luke Peters, CEO of New Era Appliances and retail band digital strategy agency. We're now in a coronavirus world, and I know that's on everyone's mind. So I'm going to adapt all of the interviews to ensure that you, the listeners, are getting the most out of this podcast. This episode is sponsored by Retail Band, where we can give your business owners a blueprint on how to grow their digital sales, either direct to consumer or via channels like Home Depot, Wayfair, and Walmart. To learn more, find me on LinkedIn or email me at luke@retailband.com. In this episode, you're going to learn from entrepreneur Ryan Close on product launches, brand development, startup structure, and fundraising, and how he built an amazing product and business with Bartisian. Ryan Close is founder and CEO of award-winning intelligent hardware and consumer packaged goods startup Bartisian, a former bartender, lifelong entrepreneur, and passionate collaborator. Ryan has taken an idea from garage to global. His mindful and empathic approach to leadership has allowed him to recruit, retain, and build upon top-tier talent. Ryan, welcome to the Page One Podcast.
Hey, thanks, Luke. Great to be here.
Awesome. So before we get going, you have a really exciting product. So why don't you describe your business and product so the audience understands you better?
Absolutely. And maybe we can make this a cocktail hour while we're chatting it through. But
we should.
So as you said, Bartisian is, award-winning hardware product that creates cocktails at the push of a button, and not just the cocktails you get at the local watering hole, but premium craft cocktails that you expect at the most exclusive lounges across the U.S. The way it works is it's similar to a coffee maker on your counter, a small appliance, very sleek and sexy looking. The reservoirs that are glass are labeled, and you put your own spirit in there. So it's an open source, and it's clearly marked whiskey, tequila, vodka, gin, and rum. There's a water source at the back, and then there's an LCD display. Each capsule contains all the bitters, liqueurs, and juices in real format. Real juices, no artificial colors or flavors. So things like cucumber bitters, muddled cilantro, Aperol, Campari, all those ingredients in non-alcoholic form. No powders, it's the real stuff are put into those capsules. There's a barcode on it. You select your Sex on the Beach, your margarita, Manhattan, lemon drops, and put it in the machine. It's going to read that barcode and know what you put in. It's then going to tell you what glass to use. It's going to then allow you to select your strength. So if you're driving that night, you can have a mocktail. Light, regular, strong. You customize it, hit go. In about 20 seconds, it's going to pull those spirits. It's going to take the water to reconstitute the ingredients inside the capsule. Everything's being mixed inside that capsule and then coming right into your glass in about a 20-second process. And it self-cleans afterwards, so it's ready for the next drink. You're not tasting the remnants of the last drink in your cocktail. So it's a lot of fun. The drinks taste amazing. And we're really excited about getting it into market.
Yeah, what an amazing product. And it looks beautiful. So check out the website, bartisian.com. And I guess if you're listening, tune in, I guess, during happy hour, and then we can go through, you can learn about business and have a drink at the same time. But, right now we're in a coronavirus world, Ryan, and I don't know, I guess it's going either way. I think for some alcohol and beverage companies, just depending on their distribution. How has it impacted your company?
It's pretty unbelievable how it's impacted us. We started seeing in kind of mid-March, growth that was, we had expected anyways, as folks who, received their product over the holidays and were using it, loving it. We were getting great reviews. So we were starting to get that momentum. We were growing at, 60 to 80% week over week.
Oh, wow.
And then, something happened obviously mid-March and things went completely bananas. And people started hearing about us and, as the perfect solution to not being able to go to their, favorite restaurant or bar. And people started coming to buy us and buy Bartisian. And we saw 240% growth And that continued throughout April. And then in early May, we had a viral moment, which, paired with being obviously a great solution during this current environment, blew us even further up, and we were growing at 450%. We completely sold out of our Bartisian cocktail makers. Obviously, luckily, we had planned and prepared for significant growth, and we had tons of capsules and still do, so we don't have any issues there. We've got some great production here right in America, but the machines, obviously were 10x growth, so they were gone. So we're waiting on more to come in, and luckily we've got tons coming in, so we should be fine in the near future. But it's exciting because of our sales growth, and also frustrating that we don't have all the machines that we wish we could have on hand to sell.
Yeah, I mean, what a great position to be in, though. As the founder and owner of the business, and I'm impressed that you lasted that long on the inventory with your sales being that high. So, like you said, you planned for it. And how long is that? Is that supply chain pretty long? Are you guys like 60 or 90 days out from time of placing an order, or was the supply chain able to react pretty quickly?
Yeah, in terms of the capsules, very quickly. So, the machine side, we're about 6 weeks behind right now. But luckily, we're able to turn on the engine based on the current demand, and we won't be in this position again. But we just couldn't foresee that meteoric growth that quickly. And the TikTok video went to 10 million views, and almost a couple million likes, and which was exciting for us because we had really great press before and saw sales obviously from the press, but it's not always that huge, the sales increase, right? It's like, okay, great, I'm going to go check out Bartisian, I'm going to see it, but I don't know if I want to spend $350 on this right now. But what we saw then with this video is it really proved out that the product is a great solution. It solves a problem for people in this moment, and really for any moment. So it's just a generating awareness, which we didn't really have a huge budget to do. So it's great to get free, publicity.
And what's the story behind that? By the way, I was on, so I quickly went on Instagram. It looks like you guys have some really high engagement on some of those videos as well. Any particular thing that you see working well for you on social media?
It's funny. I'm going to say authenticity is our number one pillar for social media. I got to be honest, and I am not I don't even have my own Instagram.
That's funny.
Page. But I actually, right now, in the last few months, am the one making the post on Instagram, responding to the customers, which is crazy. And we have some investors going, Ryan, you need to bring on someone to do this yesterday. And I say, I agree, but I'm learning so much from these early adopters, and what they feel about the product, how they want to relate, how they what they like about it, what they don't. It's incredible. So it's almost like this drug I can't stop doing, even though I know I need to. It's really educational for me.
Well, that was really good nuance there, that you're doing it because you're learning so much from the customers, and you're right, you get that immediate customer feedback, which I'm sure can help with R&D and probably flavors and things like that. But yeah, I've seen some of you had what stood out was, even if you only you may have 100, 200 likes, but you're getting like 20, 30 questions. And of course, more when you get, thousands of likes. So you definitely doing good on that end. I might have to hire you actually, Ryan, so you can help me out a little bit. But
I'm about to fire myself from the role. So it's again, the goal hasn't been likes. We've although a lot of people say that's a determination of success on social media, kind of followers and likes. We've taken the approach of engagement is more critical, and similar to our strategy on launching the product. That wasn't to throw it on the shelves at Walmart day one, and nothing wrong with Walmart, but just that wasn't the strategy. It was let's confine it, let's do it small, let's roll it out carefully, and that's kind of the same approach that I've taken with social media. It's just like let's target our current users, and let's not just try to get 1 million followers. And a lot of people do, pay people for posts, and we haven't done any of that. Not one.
Yeah, it's authentic. So listen, we got a lot of great questions. I want to get more into the story, but before we do, just to give the audience a little bit of say context on the business, can you talk about maybe the size or number of employees or warehouse, or just something to give us a scale on the company so everybody can understand?
We're very small. I'm going to tell you that right now. We're lean, very lean business. We have under 10 people on the team, full-time employees. We leverage strong partnerships, and that's been the very early strategy of the business. When you're building a hardware and a CPG business from scratch, the costs are mighty, and so we always had to kind of take that approach, is just how do we leverage people who can help basically foot the bill, right?
Yeah.
So I think we've done a really good job of that, and that's we kind of ingrained in our culture. So we have a very small team. We have multiple warehouses. We have great co-man partnership, and it's worked for us very well.
I want to get more into that down the road here in a couple of questions. But earlier you talked about you have investors. Did you have those investors from the very beginning, or did you kind of launch the product and they saw kind of the excitement around it, and then the investors came in later on?
We could spend probably 3 hours. I could tell you the investment story. I won't bore you with it all, although I find it very intriguing. But we took an unorthodox approach to that. Similar to a lot of the things we do, unorthodox. It was kind of like a pay as you go model for cell phones. We kind of raised as you go model with fundraising.
Yeah.
So we didn't have these, here, like all the textbooks will tell you, you get everyone ready and send them and, let them all know here's when it's going to close, and, create that FOMO. Again, we're extremely authentic. We always were communicating very candid and clear. And here's what we need to do. Here's what we'd like, how much money we need to get. Let's go get it. And then let's focus on the business. Because I didn't have the luxury of just taking 3 months off for road shows to go fundraise, right? I had to, we didn't have a product that functioned properly. So it was like, we got to get the product developed. We got to make sure these capsules have specific shelf life, and so that's kind of driven our strategy there. So, we really did it over several years, fundraise. And it was from getting, letters of intent from retailers before we even had the product, and then taking those LOIs to angel investors saying, hey, listen, like, even though this product doesn't work, we don't have it, we haven't made it yet, we've got, retailers who are willing to buy it once we make it. Give us a little money so we can go and push this further. And that's how we made it work.
Wow. And let's take that and talk about the next steps. With strategic partnerships, talk about how you then worked on the development of the product, and along the way you had limited resources, but you still got amazing results.
Right. We tried it a few different ways. So we had, looked at bringing it in-house, and we hired a couple, engineers and essentially folks who can work with China and manufacturers there and buy the parts. And we set up an assembly in Canada and started, making, and the plan was to, make our own machines. That was the initial strategy. The issue we found was that the resources required for that were so significant that we weren't able to focus on the capsule development. So whenever we were putting resources into one area, the other area would suffer. And I recognized that wasn't a sustainable methodology. The whole business was going to suffer. So we needed to make a decision: either raise a significant amount of money and really dilute the business down to very little, and get a partner in or VC and do that and manufacture and kind of chug through, or find a partner on the either side, the capsules or the machine side, to incur those final costs. So that's the route we decided to go on, was the machine side. We found a really strong manufacturing partner. And that helped alleviate issues like working capital, right? Like we were getting orders for 3,000 machines. and just the working capital needs, trying to get loans against that was a huge amount of effort, and time suck, to get a terribly termed, loan, right?
Yeah.
From a bank. And it's like, we can, and, we looked at, the margins on the appliance as well, and, the kind of industry average. And we said, let's focus and nail down these capsules and cocktails and get these just perfect. And, we took the machine, we had it to, let's call it 85% in completion. And we said, this is how we want it. This is the final tweak. And we found a partner that was able to do that. So it was a perfect solution for us.
And that helps on, it sounds like that helps on the cash flow side. Was that the benefit? Because otherwise you'd have to go prepay or partial pay factory, but then this partner somehow is helping you guys on the cash flow side. If you do have a PO, and obviously on that PO, you're going to have, retailer terms you have to kind of deal with.
Well, you nailed it. I mean, so helps us huge on obviously cash flow. We could take the cash and put it into development of our own line for the capsule. So we have custom, fillers that, because our capsule is so custom, like there's a lot of engineering inside that capsule to make it mix properly and work within that machine. So we focused our resources there, and obviously on curating the best possible ingredients around the globe. Like we're bringing in, certain liqueur, beverages from Italy, and so we're getting all these things that take a ton of effort. So that's one thing, and then the other, way it obviously helped us was with not having to bring in all the expertise in terms of the managing manufacturers for the appliance in China. I mean, we did that and tried it, and I mean, I myself was going to China working with these factories, and boy, oh boy, it's I mean, as you know, it's complicated, and it's going to take a lot of resources, a lot of time and energy to get it right. And we were having issues, with the bottles, like we had our glass bottles would come and they'd have, issues with them. Right? It wouldn't look proper. Well, that's a huge amount of work for us, right? Just to get it right. And so finding a company that, that's what they do, and they do it well, and they've done it for 100 years is important to us.
Wow. And so, and a little more details on this, because I find it really interesting. So this company that you partnered with, and obviously it sounds like you're bringing IP to the table.
Yeah.
And they then actually kind of took that design and they had to scope out all that work and come back with the finished product and solve all those engineering problems. That was kind of their value add.
Not really. No, we had done that ourselves. So we had, we'd done all the tool ups. So we paid for the tooling, we built it, and we had it very close to the end. Now they definitely brought the final element to it where, we were going to be prepared to introduce something that was, let's call it like a B-.
Yep.
Into the consumer's home. And that never sat well with me. It was like, man, if you put something on someone's kitchen counter, it has to be an A+.
Mm-hmm.
The word of mouth, and especially things that you're ingesting. I mean, it's just, you can't cut corners. And so, and all the startup, books we were reading at the time was just like, you got to get it out to market as soon as possible, get it out to market. Right. And it just didn't sit well with me. I disagreed. I wanted to get it right. And so working with a manufacturing partner, so that we had a couple options. One was, work with a manufacturing partner that they just help with manufacturing, and then we buy the unit from them. Right. And they kind of deal with that, or find a manufacturing partner that also distributes. And that was kind of the aha moment where it's like, not only can we leverage this partner to get a perfect product on the consumer's counter, and handle warranty issues and any sort of service requirements, but we can also leverage their sales channels where they're already selling.
Oh, wow.
Hundreds of millions of dollars to all the sales channels across the U.S.
Wow. I didn't realize that part. Yeah, that's a huge bonus.
Yeah. So, right away, we don't need to hire 10 salespeople, and we don't need to go figure out how to, do cross-stocking at, Williams-Sonoma, right? And set up as a new vendor. I mean, that, as you know, is a comprehensive task. And I've lived that in previous roles in my career, and it's a lot of work. And we try to find ways to be as efficient as we can. And so this partner was just turnkey.
That's awesome. And that's how you keep the team lean. It sounds like with that being said, you're able to focus on probably product development and marketing. I'm guessing is your main focus. Anything else?
You nailed it. Not marketing, not yet. I mean, honestly, I'd love to say as the person who's, ultimately responsible that we've done an amazing job marketing, but to be honest, like the product has done the job for us. It's such a easy to market product. We've been fortunate. But yeah, that is going to be the focus, definitely marketing and creating incredible cocktails for folks to enjoy.
Well, I think you guys, you got to give yourself a little more credit than that. I know you're being humble, but you really do have a beautiful website and tastefully created videos, and everything is aligned. Like the brand is really strong. I think you guys really have done a great job. I kind of wanted to tie that into a question here where it looks like you guys launched this on Kickstarter. And I know Kickstarter actually, a requirement to be successful there is you got to have like an amazing marketing set with a ton of, beautiful videos, and you really got to tell a story. Would you do it that way again? And what can you tell us are the benefits and challenges of launching that way?
Yeah, I mean, Kickstarter helps you get noticed, that's for sure. I mean, I don't know how that's changed now from, the years ago that we did it. I mean, I really haven't kind of kept in line with that platform. I would assume that it's kind of probably a little bit diluted versus what it was back in the day where, you were being able to, I would definitely suggest it back then. Again, I just don't know enough now how it is.
Yep.
But Indiegogo's, Kickstarters, I mean, they were really a way to get on the radar of a lot of the major publications free, right? So by being, in that machine, the tech crunches, the Yahoos, the CNNs would pick the business up very quickly, and it'd be great news. And so that's one of the ways. So I would not say we had a very successful Kickstarter campaign. I mean, you could argue we were 1%, 1%, top 1% in the history. So it's hard to say we weren't. We beat our goal. Goal was 100,000. We did 115,000. But really, when you saw some products going on there and raising $1 million, 115 was a sale in my eyes.
Yeah, it's more of a marketing and a media play, like you talk about. But it kind of forces you to get your marketing assets together and all of those things. But at the same time, because we've looked at it and never done it, at the same time, you can be launching with retailers as well, and then you're kind of postponing that when folks do a Kickstarter. I mean, unless they truly are back in R&D and they just kind of time it that way, which doesn't work for every single product. But it's just really interesting.
Totally.
Yeah, interesting you did that. By the way, I noticed, on your profile, it looks like you went to school in Singapore. I think studied finance. How did that kind of factor into your career? And just, obviously you're in Canada right now, I think Ontario area, and, going to school in Singapore, did you have like a family connection over there, or how did that story work out? And how did that impact kind of your entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah. I mean, again, I was always a little, an outsider, right? I didn't like to follow the grain. I mean, pretty much in everything I did. So, I was in my third year of college in Canada. I was going to Western and taking a 4-year business degree there in Ontario. And I was just like, I gotta get out of here. I can't. Just kind of like I talked about in the corporate world, like a cubicle. I mean, 2 years of doing the college, I was just like, I need to change the scenery. Been there, done that kind of thing, right? At the college stage. So third year, I applied and was fortunately, it was a pretty rigorous application process, but I was successfully accepted into it. Spent a year at Nanyang Tech, studying finance, other business elements. It was a great learning experience, obviously. I mean, I would always encourage, I'm going to encourage my kids to try that, and anything that can make you uncomfortable is going to make you better. There's no question about it.
That's a great quote, by the way. Yeah. It's a good way to look at it.
It is. And I mean, and tell you, I was uncomfortable. I mean, I was in a dorm there. I had no air conditioning. I mean, I'm on the equator.
Yeah.
I mean, it was incredibly uncomfortable. But you know, you find the best, in it, right? And you're definitely not going to complain. It was world-class education there. I was able to, you know, go to for the weekend and head to Thailand, and you know, my brother came down. We, you know, got motorcycles, rode through Vietnam. I mean, it was an epic trip, right? No complaints, but it was definitely, you know, a grind. Right?
Yeah. Well, probably memories you'll never forget, and trip of a lifetime, I guess. You know, riding motorcycles through Southeast Asia and getting to see all those different countries, and then all these years later, you know, you're back in China, at least partially looking for some sourcing partners over there. So it's funny how the world comes around.
Yeah, I mean, it's the way, you know, one thing I learned from it too is just how to, you know, be isolated and siloed. And I was definitely when I was going to school there, I was, you know, as the kind of the foreign students, and they had a foreign kind of community there for foreign students, but I didn't want to jive into that. I kind of did my own thing. And previous to that, I'd traveled quite a bit. So I, you know, right out of high school, I went and managed a youth hostel in Rome for a year.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, backpacked and did that, and kind of grinded out and learned kind of had independence, and it was a lot of fun. So I think that all attributed to being an entrepreneur and leading Bartisian.
And Ryan, the next thing I want to talk about is kind of like your mindful and empathic approach to leadership. And you know, we talked earlier, you're a family guy, you got 3 kids, you're married, and obviously having to balance, you know, work and a startup, which is, and you guys are probably past that stage now, but there's just so much time and energy that goes into that. But, you know, how is your kind of mindful and empathic approach to leadership? How has it allowed you to, say, recruit or retain and build upon top tier talent?
Yeah, I mean, that's just from making a lot of mistakes. You know, when I came out of college, I went and did this program. I started at Syntax Corporation, which was almost like a paramilitary corp. They do uniforms and facility services, and I was in a management trainee program there. And, you know, I thought I was the smartest person to walk the face of the earth. Had a chip on my shoulder.
Yeah.
You know, came in there, you know, just wanted to prove, you know, all my years of education, and I'm going to do it all. And, you know, I just fell straight on my face. I mean, in terms of leadership, I fell completely on my face. And I wear that as a cross to bear. I feel like that was the greatest lesson ever, because I, you know, went in there guns a-blazing, and people were looking at me like, are you kidding me? Like, listen, I've been doing this for 15 years, and I've been flipping masks, you know, 7-Elevens, flipping masks, and you're going to come in here and tell me that I'm not doing a good job, and here's how to improve. And you just came out of, you know, college and with your polo, you know, give your head a shake. And so, wow, what a lesson. And so fortunately, you know, I make mistakes, but I adjust quickly. And I have obviously great parents that, you know, were advisors and leaders for me. And so they kind of instilled obviously a lot of kindness in me. And so I learned quickly that that's not going to work. And soon after, instead of that approach of, you know, how I'm going to tell these people how to do better, instead I came to work in their uniform, jumped on the truck at 5 a.m. and flip masks with them. And that's what I did for months. And that's, you know, it was a great, and obviously results spoke for themselves afterwards. I was able to, you know, get a lot more out of the team, and obviously more importantly out of myself, and had better relationships from it.
Yeah, well, and that's great. And so, you know, you mentioned that a lot of this, you know, your approach is maybe from your parents and kind of your background. And earlier, you know, we were talking kind of pre-show, and you kind of shared that you have been working literally since 8 or 9 years old. You've been making money one way or another. So you've always been a hustler, and it sounds like that's kind of continued through. And I share some of that, you know, because we had family business as well. And I was telling you this, and it's like when you're working for yourself and making things happen yourself, you kind of have that entrepreneurial chip, you know, on your shoulder, where you just, you know, you always think you know a better way. Well, oftentimes we don't, especially when we're younger. But I definitely can relate to your story and upbringing and where you kind of develop this approach. And I guess with that, I mean, I think kind of in some of the notes you had written, do you have, the right time to be patient and also a time when maybe that's not the right idea and it's time to move fast? Is that kind of built into your philosophy or strategy?
Yeah, exactly. It's, the lesson I learned obviously early in my career was, how to be patient with people, and measure your expectations accordingly and understand, where they come from and what kind of day they had and what kind of, things they're dealing with, in their life that, maybe, what's important to me is, the 12th thing that's important to them. And there's a good reason why, but definitely learning, how to be patient and compassionate to others, challenges in life. And it's almost cliche these days, but rightfully so. You gotta be patient with others, and it's going to help you get whatever, get the results, ultimate results. And don't do it just to get the results. Do it because it's the right thing to do. That's it, and yeah, so I, obviously early on, worked since, I was 7-8 years old, trying to find ways to make money, whether it was, mowing lawns or delivering papers, building pizza boxes, whatever it took. And then instilled that in me for sure. But yeah, back to the question about the patience. Sometimes, in terms of, as an entrepreneur, I'm sure you know this, fundraising and hiring, and, if you're waiting for deals to happen, partnerships, you've got term sheets out there, and it's tough. And I'm not a patient person by nature, and I would probably guess that maybe you're not as well.
Yep, correct.
I think most entrepreneurs just aren't, right? Most entrepreneurs, I think that helps that fire burn. So I think the toughest thing for me was the balance of not putting that fire out, right? Like because you can't put it out. You can't just say, okay, I'm just going to be patient and I'm going to sit on my hands and just let things happen. But still, allow things to, take the course and realize that things aren't going to happen on your timeline.
I know you're saying it's hard to describe it, but it's, we want everything done yesterday. And It's like, we want everything done yesterday and we want it perfect. But as long as we know that about ourselves, then we can kind of calibrate it, I guess, is another way of what you're getting at, I think.
Exactly.
But it's like that self-awareness but it's good to have folks on the team that think the same way, at least a couple, that are like really fast drivers, and then others that are, maybe slower because they bring a different strategic approach or whatever it may be. But yeah, it's, and that's kind of like the diversity of thinking on a great team. I know you're kind of being humble about marketing, but still you guys have done some really great things. Is there anything specific has really stood out that's really been amazing on the marketing side? Maybe that TikTok video or anything else just that the audience can think about implementing with their own product?
It's tough to put a finger on it. I would say, we've said it, we say it over and over again internally, is our North Star is authenticity in everything we do, in the taste of our cocktails, in the marketing material we provide. So I think just being completely candid and having my finger on the trigger, essentially, like I talked about earlier, making sure that I'm in touch with what's going out there, the message boards. I think, I strongly believe that is almost, it should be number one, chapter one of any, startup guide. You have to be involved in that. Otherwise, you're not really creating the culture of the business. You're not, the voice of the company. And it can, you hire another firm to do it. You hire, someone junior, an intern to come in and manage your social pages. You're losing. You're not driving the car anymore.
Yeah. And I think also what's cool about the authenticity is that, translates into trust, which is really important. Obviously a higher ticket product that you're selling, and people are consuming it. And so they really got to believe and trust in the brand and that it's going to taste good. And so I think that's probably a lot of what you're seeing with that authenticity too. And also probably, I think it helps with your story, because people, they like to buy from other people they like, or companies they like, and companies that have a story. So those, really good feedback there. And I think, we've talked about so many different things in this interview, but kind of wrapping it up on what is often a difficult question, but can be a really useful one to the listeners. Ryan, I'd ask is, what's been your biggest mistake in business, and what have you learned from that?
Well, fortunately, at this stage of the game, the team that we have and that have come on board, we got a small team, and I'm just so happy with the team, and they're rock stars, and they bleed Bartisian. They're identifying problems before they happen. So, a lot of the success that we're seeing right now is due to their hard work. I mean, and I mean that sincerely. And so, the error that I've made in the past, big issues or big, problems have arisen in the past where, I've brought someone on early, and, as an entrepreneur, you got a million balls that you're juggling, and you assign it and then take your eye off that ball to someone, new. And so fortunately, that's not the case anymore. We've got, we've learned from it. We've got 80 players on the team, but, definitely learned that mistake the hard way. You can't take your eye off the ball if you're not fully aligned with the folks that are executing.
Yeah. It's like when you start, everybody tells you, hey, you need to learn how to delegate, but abdication is not the same as delegation. So it's,
right on.
It can often be it can be a tough lesson. And there's a lot of cliches, but trust, but verify. But then once you have, when you have the right people doing it, and then you can really back off the pedal. But definitely a good lesson, and probably one that a lot of us have also been involved in. So really cool story.
Absolutely.
Great product. How can listeners, find more about you, and is maybe LinkedIn, or what's another resource maybe that they can learn about you in the business?
Yeah. I mean, Bartisian.com is our website. Sign up for our newsletters we send out. We aim to do, only once a week. We don't, drive your email inbox with jargon, and when we send something, it's of value and pertinence. So we encourage people to sign up for that. We'll talk about, the company, the team, the cocktails that we're introducing, why we're doing it, any sort of things we're doing in the community. So that's probably the best way. Obviously, I also have a LinkedIn account as well, but I would encourage people to go on Bartisian.com. Cool.
Well, thanks again, Ryan, for being on this interview and part of the Page One podcast. It's been great talking about the product. It's great how you built this company and the different strategic partnerships that you found along the way, and all the ins and outs of building a product from design up. Also, I'd encourage listeners to check you out on Instagram. Honestly, you have some really cool stuff, and you talk about the authenticity, but they can get some inspiration, especially around happy hour. And we'll have that in the show notes for everybody to see. And I want to thank all of you listeners for listening to this episode of the Page One podcast. Truly appreciate your reviews on iTunes, and hope you guys join us for the next interview.
Thanks for listening to the Page One podcast with Luke Peters. If you enjoyed this episode, please help us out by leaving us a rating on iTunes. Want to double your online sales? Check out www.retailband.com. And don't forget to join us next week with our next amazing guest.